I am also pursuing a course in business analytics. Talking about my business experience, I am currently working at Elastro India, which is my family business. But I want my purpose of pursuing this further education in commerce is that I want to expand this business beyond the Indian subcontinent. And with the same purpose in mind, I have had two internships under my belt, one at EY and the other at Harley Davidson. The one at EY gave me an outlook, a perspective into the corporate culture, how companies and MNCs today work. And the one at Harley Davidson gave me a perspective towards how a retail market of an MNC works. Besides talking about my social activities, I am part of three organizations, Amoli Trust. It is an NGO based in Delhi that works to empower young children and teach them about child sexual abuse. The second one is Mahavir International. So this is an international organization that sets up eye checkup camps for those in need and provides them medical facilities at very nominal prices. The third one is the National Service Scheme. This is one of the societies in my college. The main purpose behind this organization is to spread awareness about the important days of our countries, and they regularly initiate cleanliness drives and other social important events. So, as I look forward for my studies, I chose to pursue a master's in international business, and I feel that ESEC Business School is will be the perfect platform for me to be able to grow further and to build a very strong network in the coming future, especially with
Okay,
the program in
gotcha.
Singapore.
So sorry, I want to interrupt you from that. So basically, so what I want you to understand, so the reason why I asked Palak to introduce himself, because you have to understand the way business schools will assess your profile. So first of all, they will consider your intellectual and academic skills, okay, through your degree, your grades, and a reasoning test. By the way, at the second can be also the CAT, that you know, the famous Indian CAT. It can also be the GMAT or the GRE. So, on of all, they will consider your professional experience and especially the experience that you have in the field in which you want to study. Okay. Then, of course, your international exposure, okay, which is usually a problem in India because you're all pretty young and you have not traveled much. You have not traveled much because, of course, you went to school, to high school, and you studied. And I've noticed that a lot of our students want to keep their money for their studies, okay. And finally, leadership activities. And of course, Palach has most of it, okay. Tell me, Palach, according to you, what were the strengths and the weaknesses of your application?
Okay, if I talk about the strengths of my application, I feel that since I had a very wholesome perspective of what I had in mind, and all aspects of my application fitted into it. For example, when I talk about my ultimate purpose, I was able to convince the committee that everything that I've done so far is in line with my final goal. That is, I feel, my strongest strength in the application. I could convince that all my internships played an important role, and uh, I'm very focused on what I want to achieve at the end of my program at ESEC. Uh, the major weakness I feel in my application can be my GMAT score, since being an Indian, it always gets more competitive with the numbers, and since my score wasn't at par, but anyhow, it my application covered up for my weaknesses there.
Yeah. So we say that the GMAT, it's true that it's a key factor for MBA students, but I see that most of the people who are here are young. They are master applicants, and so that's something that you have to consider. So the GMAT is not such an issue. No? Of course, if you're 33 years old, you want to apply for an MBA, you need a 700 plus, and even second year programs. Okay, so yes, that applies. But I've noticed that the competition among Indian students and it is not that fierce that you need such a high GMAT. So yourself, Palak, if you want, you can tell us your GMAT score. But yeah, so usually what I find that is missing is that you find that Indian students usually have very strong leadership activities. You're all members of volunteering activities. You're not an exception, Palak. Second of all, usually have good grades. They are really good students. Okay. Usually their GMAT is a strength, but I've seen more and more students who did not pass the GMAT. So there's also Anushka from the center with us. Anushka got accepted to IE and she didn't take the GMAT, so it's possible to take to get a top school without the GMAT, okay, with alternatives to the test. And usually the problem, the weakness is always international exposure, okay? Now, basically, why have you decided, Palach, to study outside India? Okay, you didn't want to see at ISB, IIM for postgraduate degree. Why? Why did India? With all the problems that there may be living in India, problem of languages, problem of visa, work visa especially. So why?
So the purpose behind choosing a university abroad was primarily to ensure that I live up to what is expected of me. The current setup I have with the family business here is already pretty widespread in India, and what I needed today was to expand it beyond India. To be able to do that, I need to know people that in my other markets. For example, the Asian market towards Singapore, the Western market. Our business is more towards the textile industry, and the Asian as well as the European markets, they're uh, very good for our industry, but unfortunately, we haven't been able to reach them. So that was the main reason why I chose to study abroad, so that I can build a very strong network. I can get to know about the business cultures in those markets, and that will help me to expand it in those markets in those countries and not just India.
Okay, so it's very important. So basically, so Palach will tell us what he wants to expand because basically Palach wants to get experience abroad because he wants to develop the family business, huh? And it's still your point. Basically, I guess that most of you will not develop the family business because simply they don't have a family business. I would say that you have to be very careful regarding that. Huh? Many people from India believe that Europe is a country, and Europe is not a country in the sense that the United States is a country. Okay, so basically in the US you have federal laws governing immigration. Okay, and it's not up to the governor of the state to decide the laws that the state should have in terms of immigration. It's a federal rule, so it was Mr. Uh, Trump and now it's Mr. Biden who decides what America has to do. In Europe, it's very, very different. Okay, Europe is a collection of states. Okay, who are independent and sovereign, and nobody decides for the others what they should do. There should be there's just something that we call uniformity that the countries so that the competition among European countries is regulated. Okay, there's no European states. Me, I live in Belgium, and we don't have we have administrative bodies, but no, there's no president of Europe, no prime minister, there's nothing. Now, basically, all that to say that the countries in Europe have different rules regarding immigration. Okay, so the most generous countries, the two most generous countries in Europe regarding that are the Netherlands and the UK. That's why I really uh, advise when you come from India to study in these two countries, Germany being included, because Germany also offers 18-month visa. So it means that if you study in the UK, you can stay in the country for another 2 years. Same thing for the Netherlands and Germany, it is 18 months. Okay?
Right.
So that's something that you have to consider. For instance, if Palach were to study in France, we stay in Singapore, Palach, the Smith. Will be in Singapore or in Paris? Where will you study? Singapore
I'll,
or
I'll
Paris?
begin I'll begin my M1 in Paris and probably my M2 that will be in Singapore.
Okay. Probably it means that you can probably have a visa to stay there in France or Singapore, and I would strongly advise that coming from India, you stay in Singapore. There's probably more potential, except that Singapore is a pretty small state, as you know. Well, basically, that's something that you have to consider. So when I decide to study in Europe, okay, I should go for a program where the country is pretty generous. For instance, Belgium is not generous. It's only 6 months after graduation, so it's not long enough to convert an internship into a full-time job. Okay. So on the whole, I would strongly suggest that if you decide to study in Europe, especially coming from India, you go for a 2 year program. So for instance, Parag, she decided to go for a 2 year program, for instance. And that's what you have done with the sleep. Huh? Because the sleep can be completed in 1 year as well. So it's a very good idea. So try to go for a 2 year program and try to study in a country that is quite generous. France is not very generous in that you can convert to student visa only into a 1 year work visa, which is hardly enough to transform an internship into a job. Okay, that's why I suggest that during the summer you go for an internship. Okay, and you try to get a job offer after the internship. Okay, then you have 1 year to work with the company. Okay, and after 1 year, if
Right.
you have done well, they will transform your visa into so they will give you a full-time job offer that allows you to stay. So in Europe, if you get 3,000 a month, okay, plus a 3,000 gross a month, you work visa, in fact, you get automatically a work visa. Okay, and if you stay there for 5 years, you become a resident, and then you have a residency permit for another 10 to 15 years before getting the nationality, which is the citizenship. That's something that you have to consider. So of course, the countries where it makes sense is Netherlands and UK because of the pure work visa, and because there's no language barrier. Okay, that's also why I advise my students to study in a non-UK speaking countries to learn the language of the country. Okay, for instance, Anushka is with us today. She's learning Spanish because she will study at AI. I have another one, Ariane, who's not there. If Ariane is there today, but yes, Ariane is there with us. So he wants to study at HEC and he will probably get HEC. He wants to learn French. Okay, he wants to study there. So basically, that's something. So Anushka is studying at Instituto Cervantes and Ariane at Alliance Française. That's something that you have to consider. Okay, speaking the language in countries where English is not one of the master languages. Huh? In the Netherlands, they speak English like they speak their own language, which is called Dutch. Well, so that's something that you really have to consider coming to Europe. What should I study? And the work visa is very important. Huh? The best, by the way, to study still is America. Huh? Because if you stay in America, you have something called a STEM program. And through the STEM program, you can stay up to 3 years. So usually if you stay in America for 3 years and you have a good education, you get a job. Okay? Now tell me, Balak, to which programs have you applied?
I applied for the top 10 Masters in Management programs. I applied to HEC, LBS, ESEC. I applied to Imperial, ESCP, and ISADE. All of those Masters in Management programs.
Okay. And you got accepted to ESCP and ESSEC, as far as I know. Did you get
I
it
also got
there?
accepted to ISADE, and Imperial
Okay.
had waitlisted me, and
Okay.
I had received an interview call from LBS.
Which is good. So interview call from LBS, waitlisted at Imperial, because of course, why? Because it is difficult for Indian students to get Imperial because you have many Indians who apply to Imperial, okay? Simply because they know that they have 2 years work visa and no language barrier. That's why for an Indian, of course, it's super selective to get a UK program. Okay. And why have you chosen ESSEC over ESCP? Because ESCP, it's a 2 year program. Okay. You got accepted for the MIM. You got accepted to the
Right.
MIM at ESCP. Why ESCP? Why ESSEC over ESCP?
So there were various reasons for choosing ESEC over ESCP. The first and the foremost reason was that was the 2 year program. ESEC is the only one that offers a 2 year long program, and that too with a lot of flexibility. We can have one gap year. Plus, I feel that the curriculum of ESEC was much more inclined to what I wanted to do. It had that inclination towards the business thing. Also, this the campus and the clubs. I researched deeply on the clubs and campus of both these colleges, and I decided that ESEC would suit me better. Finally, I would say that in all the rankings that I went through, ESEC was higher ranked than ESCP. So these were the prime factors that drove me to choose ESEC over ESCP.
Okay. Alors, of course, being closely associated to ESSEC, I find it's a good choice. However, I would like to mention 2 things. Okay. Now, first of all, you mentioned the advantage of ESSEC over ESCP. There's another one, which is Singapore. And as an Indian, it makes a lot of sense to study in Singapore because it's still Asia. And probably you'll adapt better in Singapore than you could adapt in Europe. And finally, Singapore is a still fast booming country, okay, state, as you said, which is not the case of most Western European countries. So of course it makes sense. Now, I would like to to explain to students who are here the difference between the degree offered by ESSEC and the degree offered by ESCP. You have to see that the how can I say that, the best possible degree that you can get from this ESSEC, HEC, EMU, whatever school is what they call the MIM. Okay, so the MIM is what we call it's an elite degree from these universities, which is historically the degree that they gave to the French elite. Okay, which is the French elite, for instance, has to go through a 2 to 3 years competitive preparation before applying. They get a contest, and the best get what we call the Parisian school, so which is ESSEC number 2, ESCP number 3. Still, the degree that is number 1, 2, or 3 is the MIM. It's not the degree offered by the school. Okay, you have to understand that try if you apply for a school to get the MIM. Now, of course, there's another great degree that is coming down from the school. It's what we call the MIF. It's the degree that you need to get if you want to work in investment bank. So basically, I would say that Palach is somehow right in his choice. Now, he didn't get the royal degree offered by the schools, okay, which is the MIM, the Palach, okay. And so basically, if you hesitate between a Master of Science and an MIM, always be careful, okay, by saying, okay, which is the royal degree offered by the school, okay. But of course, in this case, it was right. There's also something else that you have to understand, that ESSEC is much more competitive than ESCP. So he's right. He will be in class with better students. Okay. So tell me, Palak, you seem to know ESSEC pretty well. Have you interacted with ESSEC now? I know that you cannot travel. Okay. But what type of interaction have you had with ESSEC in the last 3 months?
Well, my course hasn't begun yet, but I have got to interact with plenty of students through social networks, and I'm also in touch with the incoming students of my batch. We also had a few webinars, question and answer discussions with the main director of the program, and I think that all of the students, they're very ambitious and very focused on what they want to do. There are people from various countries, and I believe that in the next 2 months in August, when we start with our journey, it will be really fun, and we'll be able to really bond well in those days.
So, you have your visa already to go to Singapore or to Paris? You have the visa now already, Palak?
So the student visa applications in Delhi, they were suspended up till 9 June. I haven't received the visa yet, but it's on track, and I believe it will be available before I have to leave.
Otherwise, it's possible, but maybe the first 2, 3 weeks are online before you join. Yes.
It is very much possible, but the college has clarified that it will be starting with complete offline classes. So just in case I do not get visa or I am late in joining, that will be a different case. But ESSEC has clarified that this batch will completely be offline unless a student especially needs it online.
Okay. Now we never know what can happen. Huh? You see, Palak, we never know what can happen. But for sure in September we'll be offline. You don't know what can happen in October or November. Huh?
Right.
That's another story. And of course, schools cannot anticipate, and anyway, they have to respect the rules. Okay. Now, can you explain to students who are here how the admission process to such schools work? I'm sure that they know and understand, but what I believe they don't really understand, for instance, that you have to start early the process. Okay. They believe it could be done a bit last minute. So what is the process? How long does it last? And when do you advise students to start?
Okay, so first of all, I would say that whatever your target round is, at least 4 months or 3 to 4 months prior to that, you need to begin with your applications. And if the GMAT or any management test in itself takes at least 2 to 3 months to prepare. So I suggest that any student that wants to ace any management exam should have that enough buffer time, so that in case he does not achieve his target score, he has time to retake the test. Beyond that, if we talk about the non-GMAT aspects of the application, such as your application essays, the letter of recommendation, this profile building, resume things, that all of that takes about 2.5 months. So it's a total procedure of about 5 months from the day you decide to apply to a school to the day you actually do it.
So yes, Plus, perhaps you went pretty fast because yes, it can be even more. So basically, I would suggest that you want to start so that you take from June, probably late October to prepare and pass the GMAT and the TOEFL, probably. So it means that you need 3 to 4 months, okay? And then you take November, December to work on the application. So it means that already, if some of you decide that they want to apply, it's already impossible, almost impossible to apply for round one, almost impossible, unless you already somehow prepared for the GMAT, you're a good test taker, maybe October, maybe possible. It gives you like 3 months and a half, but it's most likely that you do not apply before round two, okay? So of course you have to be careful because you have to see that a lot of students like you are applying, okay? And if you don't get of course, there is going to be some type of fierce competition. And as you know, I'm saying that it's not as difficult as it is as an Indian to apply for an MBA, for an MIM, as it is to apply for an MBA. Still, you cannot do things at the last minute. So you have to say, if I apply to round one or round two, have a good application, it's very likely that we get a good school. Look, Panak, of course, he has a very good application, but still, he got accepted to 3 schools. Okay. By the way, he could have, when he took the ESADE, he could have applied to the ESADE SEMS, okay, which is also a 3-year program. So basically, plan enough time. Many people sometimes I contact them or they contact me and they say, oh, you have a good profile, you could get a good school. And they say, oh, are you sure? And I've noticed that they are surprised by the result that they can get because a lot of their friends applied a bit at the last minute and without taking the time, without being organized, be a successful applicant. So you have to take your time. Okay. So what did you find the most difficult in the admission process, Palaksh?
Okay, so the GMAT was really a bone in the throat at that time because it becomes a major factor in your application. So that is one time that I really found it difficult. The rest of the application was really smooth. I think it was your contact that I could always get in touch with you directly whenever I needed you. That I always had someone to talk to if there was any problem with my application. Talk about my profile building. Talk about the way you helped me prepare my CV. The ideas that you gave me for my essays. I think it became a very smooth process for me thanks to the MBA Center, obviously.
Okay. It's true that we try to give our students a global environment where they get help on the applications, help on the essays, TOEFL, GMAT. So for instance, at that precise time, I think that we have a GMAT class with our Indian students, about 12 are there. We try to make sure that they get the best possible score, and then we help them on selecting the school, preparing the application, and also the interview. And also, it's very important that we can work with you for about 6 to 9 months because that's what you need from us. Okay. So I know that you have an exam soon. So I don't know, maybe there are people who have questions. So Anushka, you have questions, or Aryan, you have questions to ask? Anushka?
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah,
you have a question to ask to Palaksh?
No, I just want to congratulate him because, getting admission in all these top colleges, it's a huge task. So, like, congratulations, Palaksh. And I hope I meet you one day if we go for an exchange program.
Thank you, Anushka. I'm sure we'll meet there in Europe.
Yeah, because if you had studied at ESCP, Palaksh, maybe you have studied at ESCP Spain on the Madrid campus, and would have met Anushka. But you will be between Paris and Singapore.
That's all right, sir. I'll take a flight to Spain and meet Anushka.
Yeah. By the way, you should visit Spain. By the way, all of you, once you come to Europe, you study in Europe, you should also take advantage of traveling. But you will travel. I'm sure that when Palaksh comes,
I will. Yes.
You will visit. I suggest that you visit, of course, the UK, you visit Germany, you visit Italy, you visit, of course, Central Europe. You see, it's interesting. And Spain, I'm of course usually very surprised that when Indian students come to study in Europe, at the end they know Europe better than Europeans, okay? Because they travel all over, okay? Because you see, for instance, imagine that you're German, where will you go? German will go to Spain for vacations, okay? He will go to the UK to learn English, and because he wants to see what it is. Maybe we'll stop by a bit in France. He may visit once the Czech Republic or Slovakia, etc., Austria, but they don't travel that much. Don't imagine that they travel all over Europe, okay? And you could be more inclined, more enthused to see more of Europe. Okay?
Yes, sir, definitely. This 1 year is a great opportunity to
Of course,
explore all the countries in Europe.
yes. Especially, you have to see that we have something called a fast train called TGV. So when you're in Paris, you can take a fast train. In 1 hour and 20 minutes, you can reach Brussels. Okay. Then, if you continue for another 1 hour, you can go up to Amsterdam. You can also take from the fast train from Paris. If you take it for 4 hours, which is always nice because you arrive in the city center, you can go to Switzerland, Geneva. You can go through also something called the Eurostar, and in 2 hours you will be in London. Okay. Now, of course, if you want to go to Spain, it's more difficult, but you can also take a train called the ICE from Paris, and in 3 hours you'll be in 4 hours you'll be in Frankfurt. So yes, taking the train, it's very interesting, and then you do your homework, etc. You can travel pretty easily in Western Europe. Okay. Ariane, you don't know Palach, okay? But you're also targeting a top school because ESSEC is a good school for you. Huh? You
Sorry
met
to
Palach?
sorry to barge in, Dr. Hubert, but yeah, Palaks and I, we've had a couple of conversations. Yeah.
Okay. So what are the questions that you have for can we share some of them? So what are the what are the talks that you had with Palach?
I don't have any question in particular. Yeah, because whatever questions I've had so far, all my questions have been answered directly by you. And considering I have GMAT Buddy, you are helping my clients as well. So I don't really have any question. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing to know. Everybody here has questions. You can ask questions, by the way, if you want. Can I see any questions? Yes. So Ravi, yes, he cannot come. And more, Madiv, is it possible to start now for 2022 intake? Yeah. You have to start now. Huh? I said that even if you start now, it's very unlikely that you will apply for round one. So you have to start now. Don't wait. And Palak said with reasons, okay, that you never know what can happen with the GMAT. Okay, you may need to take the GMAT 2 times, 3 times, 4 times before you get a good score. And as you know, there is fierce competition among Indian students. Okay, so I would say that the GMAT is going to be something very important. So you need to take time. So we already have I told you like 12 students in our GMAT India class, and they all apply for 2022. Okay, so we'll open probably a new class in 1 month, so there will be 2 classes. So yes, you have to work hard. Yeah, of course. Anybody has questions? Okay, so there's Metri. Okay, is Metri here? I don't know. Who else do I know here? Is there someone else here being with us? No. Okay. Anushka, you have another question with us for
No,
us?
sir. No, sir. Like my students had. So yeah, Shivan.
What are the ultimate? What are the last 3 pieces of advice that you give, Palak, to our students, to our applicants?
Okay, so the first and the major advice to all applicants is that it's never too late. Even I began a little late with my applications, but I'm sure that if you use your remaining time very productively, you will be able to apply in time and make it through your dream school. The second opinion is that despite whatever your scores or whatever your profile is, there's always a good chance that the admission committee will take into consideration all the aspects of your profile. There were times when I got rejected and I thought that I don't want to go to school, or maybe I won't be accepted, or I kept doubting myself at certain junctures. But when you have mentors like Dr. Hubert, you're always kept motivated, and that's what you need to stay. You need to stay motivated that whatever you have is for the best, and you will ultimately end up with flying colors. And the most important advice I'll give is that ensure that whatever applications you fill in, whatever details you fill in your applications, all of them should be very inclined, they should determine that you are focused and you know what you want at the end of your program. You just don't want to get into the program. You want to make the admission committee believe that the program is an integral part of your career goals. And if you are able to convince the committee of that, I think that's your ticket to your dream school.
Yes, it's true. Well, basically, what Ariane says is very true, and also you have to know that for you, you are a nationality that is for you it is very competitive because simply, as you know, you have 650 million people in India who are between 0 and 25 years old. Okay, and that is twice the population of Europe. Okay, you have to understand so that there is probably not enough room for you.
So one of my students has a question. Shivin, please, you can ask the
Yes.
question.
Now, basically,
Thank
yes, I will come back to that. So basically, what you have to see is that there will be always a school for you and a good one. But that's why you have to work with us because we can tell you, okay, if, for instance, let's take the example of Anushka. She said that she will not take the GMAT, okay? And she got ESNT, she got IE, she got Vlerit, so she got schools that are ranked in the top 50 in the Financial Times. Okay, so basically, even there's always room, there's always a school for you. Okay, now Palach is demanding in a school. Ariane even more so because he's targeting HEC, also targeting HEC. So it's very important that you see. So okay, maybe I will not get HEC, maybe I will not get ESCP, maybe I will not get FBS, but maybe I can get ESM Team Berlin, I can get Bocconi. For instance, ESADE is slightly easier to get. We have a good program called ESADE SEMS, means that you could do year one at ESADE, year two at HEC or LSC, which is not bad, okay? And it's easier to get in. So there are always rules, but of course we know that because we process hundreds of students, so we understand pretty well what works, what doesn't work, what employers can expect, okay? So there will be room for you, okay? And imagine that you say, me, I'm not a very good student, whatever it happens, but maybe yes, maybe we can study. There are schools that are not too bad, and which you can go. Okay, Huawei Business School is not super demanding. Okay, there are some schools in Switzerland like HEC Geneva, which is well reputed, and that is not too difficult to get. Okay, so yeah, there are ways because we know that some schools are not international enough, so they are ready to take international students. Okay, basically Shivin as a question. So about alors, of course, we offer help to deferred MBA students. So what happens with Shivin? What we do? Let's imagine that you have a student who scores 740 and with a super competitive profile. Okay, so we what we're going to do with him? So okay, look, we apply for top MIMs. So he will apply for HEC, St. Gallen, INSEAD, LBS. Okay, and then we'll also apply for deferred MBA. So Harvard, Wharton, Stanford, Columbia. Okay, if the student gets Harvard, okay, and HEC, of course, he will take Harvard. Okay, but sometimes it happens to me that some students get, I don't know, HEC MIM, and they get a deferred MBA that it was not as prestigious as the HEC, so they take the MIM. So what we do with our students who apply for deferred MBA, we apply for MIM and for MBA, and we see what happens. Okay, that's the piece of advice. But of course, we apply. Now we have very few. You see, Shivin, why? Because people they don't really like too much this concept of deferred MBA. They prefer to start immediately. Okay, they don't want to wait 2 years, 2 to 3 years before doing so. Now I have some in consulting, okay, because when you are hired as an analyst for BCG, Ben McKinsey, they ask you to work for 3 years, and then after that you can do the deferred MBA. Okay, so basically yes, we do so, but most of our students finally don't go because they prefer to go for an MIM right after graduation. What else? Yes, Shivin, you can leave us your contact and we'll help you. And of course, for a deferred MBA, you need 750 on the GMAT. You need a very high GMAT. And as I told you, it's difficult to get MBA, much more than it is to get MBA. Okay, so now we prepare. Thank you very much, Parash. I wish you good luck on your exams. I'm sure that you will work very well. There's also something else that you have to know is that unlike, for instance, bachelors in the UK, where you have like a conditional acceptance, okay, they will say we take you provided that you get an A plus, okay, it's a conditional acceptance. When you get accepted to ESSEC, you get accepted, even if you have bad grades after that, okay. So the offer is unconditional, you know.
Right.
So even if Parash get bad grade, he will keep his admissions at ESSEC. Where it can be a problem is that sometimes some recruiters, some employers may ask for his grades. Okay, that's why don't give up. Try to remain competitive, but the offer given by schools is unconditional, whether it be in France, UK, US, unconditional, unlike offers that you can have for bachelors in the UK. Okay, well, it was very nice to talk to you, and I hope that I will see you, all of you, very soon in class. Shivin, Metri, me, and all the others who have attended this seminar. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye bye.
Bye.